In a world where reality is stranger than fiction, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has reached a new level of creative storytelling. Gas prices have gone up again because, of course, what better time to do it than in the middle of a European winter? The reason? An alleged Ukrainian attack on the last remaining Russian gas pipeline to the European Union. Because if there's one thing Ukrainians love, according to Russian sources, it's cutting off heating to millions of Europeans. According to Moscow, Ukrainian drones have evolved from simple remote-controlled toys into sophisticated tools of energy terrorism. What a thrilling plot twist. Now, they don't just destroy infrastructure, they also manage to turn gas stations into global headlines. This, of course, according to official Russian sources, the same ones still trying to convince us that their soldiers in Ukraine are there to protect peace. And that's not all. Ukrainian drones seem to have a knack for causing chaos at the most inconvenient times. According to experts, quickly assembled by Russian state media, these attacks are part of a broader conspiracy to destabilize the global economy. One can almost imagine the drones lining up to refuel at secret stations, plotting their next move like characters in a Cold War cartoon. The Kremlin has coined a term that's sure to be a hit on social media: energy terrorism. It seems Ukraine has abandoned its efforts on the battlefield to focus on mastering the art of disruptive energy. But hold on, there's no conclusive evidence that this is true, although, as always, that doesn't stop them from building narratives in the style of a Russian soap opera. The bad guys are bad, the good guys are good, depending on who's telling the story, and we all need to bundle up a little more this winter. The accusation of energy terrorism has an air of creative propaganda that almost feels refreshing in a landscape saturated with more traditional terms. However, the concept doesn't seem to be catching on with ordinary citizens, who are probably too busy figuring out how to pay their gas bills to worry about the technicalities of political discourse. Meanwhile, the price of gas continues to rise as if it were the star of a reality show aiming for record-breaking numbers. The average consumer in Europe is probably wondering, what did I do to deserve this? The answer, of course, is simple: absolutely nothing. This is just a small side effect of international political games. And if gas costs a little more, well, put on another sweater. European governments, for their part, have also gone into damage control mode. Between energy subsidies, calls for austerity, and endless emergency meetings, the main message seems to be, don't worry, everything is under control. Of course, except for the fact that no one knows how to stabilize gas prices in the short term, but details. As if we could forget, the United States has also decided to participate in this global tragicomedy by intensifying its sanctions against Moscow, because what better way to resolve a conflict than with more sanctions? Of course, sanctions don't usually affect those who make the decisions, but rather ordinary citizens, but of course it's a small price to pay for the greater good. Who knows, maybe gas will become so expensive that it will force us to be more environmentally friendly. Washington, in its role as global vigilante, has promised full support to Ukraine while tightening the economic noose around Russia. Sanctions, they tell us, are indispensable tools to deter future aggression, but they are also indispensable tools to ensure that the price of gas remains a recurring topic at family dinners. Information chaos is also on the menu. In a world where news travels faster than missiles, it's hard to know what's true and what's just propaganda. While some media outlets describe drones as miracle weapons, others see them as mere scapegoats in a conflict where the real causes are far more complex. On the other hand, analysts also warn of the long-term impact of sanctions and rising energy prices. Although in the short term it seems that the West has the upper hand, the question is whether the political and social cost of these measures will end up eroding internal cohesion in Europe and the United States. Between terrorist drones, gas pipelines that seem to have a life of their own, and sanctions that never solve anything, the only thing clear here is that the world is still a place full of irony. Maybe we should make a movie about this. After all, we already have enough drama and eccentric characters. Meanwhile, freezing Europeans, sanctioned Russians, and besieged Ukrainians continue to be pawns in a game that seems to have no end. And as always, gas and its price are the true protagonists of this global tragicomedy. Long live political theatre, where irony is the most abundant fuel.